The woman on my ceiling was screaming. The man below her was breathing fire. Two college students were stuck together by blue lightning. Someone near the window had grown gray stone skin. And underneath table 6, a donut was trying to eat a lawyer. I stood behind the counter, with a tray of fresh croissants in my hands. This was becoming a difficult morning.
Get me down.
I looked up. The woman had eaten half a moonhair cream bun and tried to jump over a chair. She had cleared the chair, she had also cleared the table, and most of the room. Now she was hanging from one of my ceiling lamps, 12 feet above the floor. "Don't jump," I called.
How would I jump? I'm on the ceiling.
Good. That was one problem temporarily solved. A violent sneeze came from my left. I turned. A man with red scales covering half his face bent forward. Wait. He sneezed fire.
Whoomph.
A paper menu caught fire. 3 customers screamed. The scaled man screamed louder.
Why am I still doing that?
Dragon tail.
I know it was Dragon Tail.
You asked.
I thought it was a name.
That was fair. I put down the croissants. Then something bit a man under table 6. The lawyer crawled backward on his hands. A pink donut bounced after him. Tiny white teeth opened inside the jam. He kicked at it. The donut dodged. I stared. That was new. "Mimic," I shouted. The entire bakery went silent.
You knew it could do that?
No. The donut attacked his shoe. I grabbed a metal mixing bowl from the counter and threw it.
Clang.
The bowl landed over the donut. The bowl started moving across the floor. Everyone stared at it. I stared at it too. Okay. The lawyer climbed onto a chair.
Okay.
I didn't know mimic berries stayed alive after baking. You baked something called mimic berries? In my defense, they're delicious. The bowl hit a table leg.
Clang.
The lawyer pointed at it with both hands.
It is trying to escape.
I grabbed a heavy flour bag and dropped it on top of the bowl. The movement stopped. One problem solved, mostly. A blue flash lit the bakery.
Crack.
The 2 college students screamed. They had shared one slice of Thunder Goat cheesecake. Now their hair stood straight up. Blue sparks crawled across their arms. The boy reached for the girl. Their fingers touched. Another bolt jumped between them.
Crack.
They both stumbled backward. Then they looked at each other. The girl smiled. Oh my God. The boy smiled too. No. They kissed. Blue lightning exploded between their mouths. The lights flickered. Half the bakery cheered. I pointed at them. Stop doing that. They kissed again. I made a mental note. Thunder Goat cheesecake needed a higher price. Then, the singing started. I slowly turned toward the window. A skinny man stood there holding a sirenberry tart. He had taken one bite. Now he was singing. His voice rolled through the bakery, like something out of a royal cathedral. Every conversation stopped. The lawyer stopped shouting. The woman on the ceiling stopped screaming. Even the moving bowl became still. A woman near the door started crying. The singer looked around in shock. Then he realized everyone was listening. His chest rose. He prepared to sing louder. Oh no. I vaulted the counter. He opened his mouth. I slapped the tart out of his hand. It hit the floor. The song stopped. He stared at me. What the hell? No second verse. But I sound incredible. You do. I have karaoke tonight. Absolutely not. You can't stop me. I looked at the remaining tart in his hand, then at him. I can stop the tart. He hugged it to his chest. We stared at each other. Behind me, the dragon customer sneezed again. Fire hit the menu board.
My face is still a lizard.
Right. I had forgotten about him. I reached toward the silver ring on my right hand. Space bent around my fingers. The air turned black. Several customers gasped as my hand disappeared into another dimension. I searched past a griffin egg, 3 bundles of frost mint, a wrapped basilisk liver, half a hydra tongue, and a box I had labeled.
Do not eat sober.
I ignored that one. My fingers closed around frost mint. I pulled my hand back into the bakery. The dragon customer stared at me. What was that? My pantry.
Your pantry is a black hole.
It's larger on the inside.
That is not better.
I shoved frost mint into his hand. Chew. He looked at the blue leaves, then at his scales, then at the burning menu. He chewed. The red scales began fading almost immediately. Thank God. You're welcome. I wasn't thanking you. Also fair. The front door slammed open. A woman in a dark navy paramedic uniform charged inside, carrying a medical bag. Black hair, sharp dark eyes, very pretty, very angry. Unfortunately, I already knew her. Maya stopped 3 feet inside the bakery. Her eyes moved across the room. First, the woman hanging from the ceiling. Then the 2 human lightning rods making out beside the coffee machine. Then, the stone-skinned man staring at his own hands. Then, the burning menu. Then the lawyer standing on a chair, while a metal bowl moved beneath a bag of flour. Her face went completely still. Kai? Morning. What happened? I looked around. That required some thought. Breakfast. The bowl under the flour bag moved. Maya closed her eyes. No. It is contained. The flour bag jumped. Maya opened her eyes. That is not what contained means. I am still improving the recipe. What recipe? The bowl slammed into the table leg again. Maya stared at it. I considered lying. Mimic jam. Her eyes moved slowly back to me. You made jam out of a mimic? Technically berries from a mimic plant. Does that distinction matter right now? The flour bag jumped again. No. A crash came from above us. The woman on the ceiling had lost one shoe.
Get me down.
Maya looked up. What did she eat? Moon hare. Of course she did. The stone-skinned man raised his hand. Excuse me? Maya turned. My skin is rock. Basilisk bacon, I said. I did not ask you. He'll be fine. How do you know? I've eaten much more basilisk than that. Maya stared at me. That does not answer my question. It answers part of it. No, it really doesn't. The stone-skinned man knocked his knuckles against the counter.
Thunk.
His eyes lit up. Whoa. He punched the side of a chair. The chair snapped.
Stop testing it.
He lowered his fist. Sorry. I looked at the broken chair, then at his plate. Interesting. The basilisk portion might actually be useful. Maya saw my face. No. I didn't say anything. You made the face. What face? The one where somebody destroys furniture and you start thinking about prices. I looked at her. That was uncomfortably accurate. Then the front window flashed blue. The Thunder Goat couple had started kissing again.
Why?
They like it.
That was not a question for you.
Another spark hit the coffee machine. The machine died. Silence. I stared at it. The couple stopped kissing. Everyone looked at me. I walked around the counter. I pressed the button. Nothing. I pressed it again. Nothing. The bakery had survived dragon fire, a living donut, a woman on the ceiling, stone skin, magical singing. But now they had killed my espresso machine. I slowly looked at the couple. They separated. Sorry, the boy said. You should be. Maya grabbed my arm. Coffee machine later, humans first. She was right. Annoyingly. I climbed onto the counter and looked around my bakery. Everyone listen. The room quieted. If you ate dragon, stay away from fire. The scaled man raised a hand. A little late. If you ate moon hare, sit down. The woman above me screamed.
A little late.
If you ate thunder goat, stop touching people. The college couple separated another foot. If you ate basilisk, stop punching furniture. The stone man slowly lowered his other fist. And if you ate the pink donuts, I looked toward table 6. The flour bag was still. Do not.
Do not what?
I thought about that. Anything. Maya stared at me. This is your emergency plan? It has been a very educational morning. Then somebody outside screamed. Everyone turned toward the window. A crowd had gathered on the sidewalk. At least 30 phones were pointed through the glass. They had filmed everything. The fire, the lightning, the woman on the ceiling, my dimensional ring, all of it. One teenager pressed both hands against the window and shouted,
This place is awesome.
The crowd cheered. My stomach dropped. Maya looked at them, then at me. Kai? Yes. Tell me you're closing. I looked at the crowd. Then at the sold-out pastry case. Then at the burning menu. Then at the line already forming outside. I thought about it carefully. No. Her mouth fell open. I need smaller portions. Kai. Much smaller.
K.
And stronger tables. She stared at me. I looked at the broken chair. Possibly stone tables. She covered her face with both hands. That was how my 3rd day as a bakery owner began. But to explain why a woman was hanging from my ceiling, why a donut had developed hunting instincts, and why half the internet now thought I was either a genius or a war criminal with an oven. I need to go back 3 days. Back to the first customer. Back to the first croissant. Back to the moment I learned that 3 grams of dragon meat on Earth was apparently not seasoning. It was an event. The first man who ate my dragon tail croissant asked if dragon was just a cute name. Then red scales climbed up his neck. His collar started smoking, and he sneezed fire across my brand new bakery. The fire hit the menu board. The woman behind him dropped her coffee. I stared at the flames. Then I stared at the half-eaten croissant in his hand. That, I said, is stronger than I expected. The woman dropped her coffee. The man stared at me. Stronger? Another thin line of smoke came out of his nose. I reached under the counter, pulled a jar from my dimensional ring, and pinched 3 blue leaves between my fingers. Chew these. He backed away. You just gave me dragon meat. Yes. And now you want me to eat mystery leaves? They are not mystery leaves. They are frost mint. The fire on the menu board spread another inch. Chew. He did. His face went pale. Then blue. Then normal. The scales stopped growing. I grabbed the burning menu board with one hand and slapped the fire out against the metal counter. The man blinked. You touched that. I looked at my hand. No burn. I looked back at him. He looked at his own hand. Then, before I could stop him, he picked up his paper coffee cup and pressed his palm against the hot metal plate under the machine. Nothing happened. His eyes went wide. I can't feel the heat. You can feel it, I said. You are just very hard to cook right now. Nobody laughed. I had been on Earth long enough to know that meant I had phrased something badly. The front door opened, and 3 more people walked in. One of them was already holding up a phone. That was how opening day at the Hungry Wyvern became a medical event, a fire event, and apparently a live stream. It was also how I learned my first important business lesson. Earth people were weak against dragon meat. My second lesson came 5 minutes later, when the line outside got longer. I should have charged more. I had died once before. Not in this world. In my first life, I had been 32, bleeding from 3 places, and trapped under a collapsed ruin, while something with too many legs ate my left boot. I had been a monster hunter. A good one. I had also been the person my group trusted to cook whatever we killed. Those jobs had more overlap than most people expected. If you knew where to stab a basilisk, you usually knew where the best meat was. Then, I died. After that came a hospital, a mother crying over a newborn child, 25 years of modern life, school, electricity, rent, taxes, and a deep personal love for ovens that held the temperature you asked for. I remembered everything from my first life. For most of my second one, that had been useless. Then, 3 weeks before opening the bakery, my old silver ring appeared around my finger while I was washing dishes. I nearly dropped a plate. The ring was bound to my soul. In my old world, it opened into a storage space where time did not move. Spare clothes, monster parts, herbs, spices, and far too much emergency food. I had never been reasonable about food. When the ring came back, everything inside was still there. Dragon tail, moon hare, thunder goat milk sealed in crystal bottles, frost mint, sirenberries, scream root, basilisk fat, griffin eggs, a storm rock heart. Several boxes I had apparently labeled while drunk. And because time had not moved inside the ring, all of it was as fresh as the day I stored it. I had already signed the lease on a small bakery. The idea had seemed perfect. Bake normal bread. Add tiny amounts of old-world ingredients. Create flavors nobody on Earth could copy. I had expected rich taste, strange colors, maybe a little warmth in the blood. In my old world, a trained guard could eat a dragon stew and go back to work. Apparently, a modern accountant could eat 1 croissant and become a temporary fire lizard. That was new information. 10 minutes after the first scales appeared, a woman in a dark navy paramedic uniform pushed through the crowd outside. She had black hair tied low behind her head, sharp, dark eyes, and the look of someone who had already decided she hated every decision that led to this room. I liked her immediately. She looked at the smoking menu board. Then the man with red scales. Then me. Who is in charge? I am. Her eyes moved to the croissant tray. That is unfortunate. I liked her more. She put down a medical bag and stepped toward the customer. I'm Maya, paramedic. Sir, can you tell me your name? Evan. Any trouble breathing? No. Pain? No. Do the scales hurt? No. Evan rubbed his neck. They're kind of smooth. Maya looked at me. I spread my hands. Red dragon. She stared. What does that mean? It means the tail was from a red dragon. I know what the words mean. Good. That saves time. Her stare sharpened. I decided not to enjoy that visibly. Maya checked Evan's pulse, blood pressure, breathing, eyes, and skin. Everything looked normal. Better than normal, actually. His pulse was steady. His oxygen level was perfect. The scales were warm but flexible. While she worked, the red color began fading. Evan touched his neck. They're going away. I told you they would, I said. Maya looked at me. I knew it internally. That is not useful to the patient. Also fair. I reached into the ring again and pulled out a small piece of frost mint. Maya saw the air bend around my fingers when the ring opened. Her whole face changed. Not fear, focus.
What was that?
My pantry. That was not a pantry. It stores food. Your hand disappeared into black space. Very efficient pantry. She looked like she wanted to argue, but Evan sneezed again. This time only a spark came out. We both turned back to him. The scales vanished completely 23 minutes after the first bite. His heat resistance lasted another 11. Then everything returned to normal. Maya made him sit for another 15 minutes anyway. That gave the internet enough time to ruin my quiet opening week. The first video crossed 100,000 views before noon. By 1, the line reached the next storefront. By 2, someone had posted a slow-motion clip of Evan sneezing fire. By 3, people were asking if I had anything that made them glow. Nobody asked whether the dragon was real anymore. They asked what else I had. I stood behind the counter and considered my options. Maya stood beside me with her arms crossed. You're closing. No. Her eyebrows rose. I'm reducing the dragon tail from 3 grams to half a gram. You measured 3 grams? Yes. You knew exactly how much real dragon meat you put in a croissant? Of course. And you still served it? In my old world, 3 grams was basically seasoning. Maya looked at the line outside, then at me. Half a gram. Yes. 1 customer at a time. Reasonable. And if anyone grows wings, we stop. I thought about my inventory. That depends on which wings. Kai, I smiled. She narrowed her eyes. I'm serious. So am I. Griffin is different from Mothdrake. Maya closed her eyes for a second. Half a gram, she said. I made a new sign. Dragon tail croissant. 1 per customer. Temporary heat resistance. Possible smoke may occur. Fire should not. I charged $12 more. They sold out in 18 minutes. The next morning, I tried moon hair cream buns. I used a quarter of the old world amount. That was still too much. The customer was a woman in running clothes, who had driven 40 minutes because her brother sent her the fire video. Oh. That's good. Thank you. She took a second bite. Then someone outside yelled that a delivery van was blocking the crosswalk. The woman turned toward the window, saw a puddle beside the curb, and said, I'll just step over it. She opened the door. She stepped. She vanished upward. I ran outside. So did everyone else. She landed on the roof of the bus shelter across the street. Her mouth was open. Nobody spoke. A car horn sounded somewhere behind us. I looked up.
I didn't mean to jump the first time.
That was useful data. Apparently, Earth had invented track and field without first inventing moon hair resistance. I lowered the moon hair portion again. Maya arrived 12 minutes later because somebody had called emergency services. She got out, saw the woman on the bus shelter, and stopped walking. Then, she turned very slowly toward my bakery. I lifted one hand. Different ingredient. I hate that sentence. The woman was fine. Embarrassed, but fine. We got her down with a ladder. I added another sign. Moon hair cream bun. Please remain seated for 5 minutes. The ceiling is lower than you think. That warning made sales worse. By worse, I mean better. People began treating the menu like a dare. Thunder Goat cheesecake made hair stand straight up and covered customers in harmless static sparks. A young couple discovered that kissing after sharing one created a visible blue crackle between their mouths. They stared at each other. Then they kissed again, on purpose. They ordered another slice. I raised the price. Sirenberry tart was more dangerous in a different way. A thin man with a terrible speaking voice ate one and sang a single line from an old pop song. The whole bakery went silent. A woman near the window started crying. A dog outside sat down and stared through the glass. The man looked at me. I looked at him. I looked at the woman still crying near the window. Then I removed the tray. No more today. He reached for it. I slapped his hand away. But I paid for 2. I am refunding 1. That is exactly why I am refunding 1. For the first time that week, Maya laughed. It was short. She tried to hide it behind one hand. I noticed anyway. That evening, after the line finally disappeared and the last customer stopped smoking, I locked the front door. My legs hurt. My hands smelled like butter, dragon spice, and sanitizer. Maya had come back after her shift. She sat at the small corner table with her uniform jacket open and a paper cup of coffee between both hands. You know, she said, normal bakeries do not have a recovery chair. I looked at the corner near the counter. There were now 3 chairs, 2 bottles of water, ice packs, blankets, and a handwritten card listing the ingredients people had eaten. I have 3 recovery chairs. It is more prepared. She rubbed her forehead. I put a pastry in front of her. She stared at it. What is in that? Flour, butter, sugar, almond cream. She waited. That is all. No dragon? No. No glowing mushroom? No. No animal whose name includes the word death? I do have deathcap boar, but it is not in the pastry. She pushed the plate away. I caught it before it reached the edge. I am joking. You say that like I have enough information to know when. I sat across from her. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The bakery felt different without customers. Warm light reflected off the glass case. The ovens clicked as they cooled. Flour dust still hung in the air. Maya took the pastry again. She broke off a piece and ate it. Her expression softened. That's really good. Of course. There it is. What? That look. What look? The one that says you expected me to discover you were right. I did expect that. She smiled despite herself. When she reached for the second half, our fingers touched. It should not have mattered. I had been bitten by monsters larger than vans. I had climbed a dead giant to cut its liver out while it was still twitching. I had died once. Maya's fingers rested against mine for half a second and my brain became useless. She noticed. Her smile changed. Interesting. What? Nothing. That sounded like something. She took the pastry and leaned back. I'm not telling you. I looked at her mouth for 1 second too long. Excellent. I could face dragons, but apparently a paramedic eating almond pastry was advanced combat. Maya finished the food. Then her expression became serious. Kai, I need one thing from you. What? No surprise testing. Not on me, not on customers. I nodded. If there is magic in it, they know before they eat it. Yes. And you test smaller amounts first. Yes. She watched my face, waiting for the joke. I did not make one. She relaxed a little. Good. I understood hunters, monsters, and food. Maya understood modern human bodies. Ignoring her because I liked being right would have been stupid. I had already been stupid enough to invent fire-breathing breakfast. The next day, I started testing the food on myself. That should have been obvious earlier. I ate a full dragon-tail portion before sunrise. My skin warmed. My breathing deepened. My muscles felt loose and strong. Then a tray slipped from the drying rack behind me. I heard it move. I turned. The tray had barely fallen the width of my hand when I caught it. I froze. The tray was in my fingers. My body had moved before I thought. My chest went tight. I knew that feeling. I had missed that feeling for 25 years. I set the tray down. Then I took a moon hair bite. 5 minutes later, I crossed the kitchen so fast that my apron snapped in the air behind me. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because for the first time in 25 years, my body felt like mine again. I had spent my whole second life remembering what it was like to be faster, stronger, sharper. I had remembered jumping ravines and cutting monsters open before they could turn. I had accepted that memory as something finished. Now it was coming back. I ate a smaller piece of red dragon meat. Heat gathered behind my ribs. I raised one hand. A tiny orange flame appeared above my finger. It lasted 3 seconds. Then it vanished. I stared at the empty air. The back door opened. Maya walked in carrying coffee. She stopped. Were you on fire? No. She looked at my hand. I saw fire. That is different. How? I was in control of it. The metal baking tray on the table made a small cracking sound. We both looked down. My left hand had bent the edge where I was holding it. Maya stared. I stared. We need to talk about your definition of control. We had that conversation. Maya used words like baseline, resting pulse, and please stop squeezing metal while I'm talking to you. I listened. Mostly. Over the next 3 days, I learned something much more useful. The old food did not only give me temporary effects. It was rebuilding something. My grip stayed stronger after the dragon heat faded. My eyes followed movement faster. I slept 4 hours and woke up rested. Small cuts closed in half the normal time. I did not need a screen to tell me what was happening. My old body had known mana for 32 years. My new body was finally remembering. That discovery should have been the strangest thing that happened that week. At 4:17 in the morning, on Friday, my flower room exploded. Not with fire. The room simply made a deep whump, like the building had swallowed air wrong. The door flew off one hinge. 3 bags of flour burst open. A man rolled out of the white cloud, hit a shelf, and disappeared under 20 kilos of bread flour. I had a knife in my hand before he stopped moving. Old habit. The figure coughed. A hand emerged from the flour. Copper light flashed between the fingers. I stopped breathing. No one on earth made light like that. The man pushed himself upright. His dark auburn hair had come loose from a tie. One silver streak ran from his right temple. His midnight blue coat was burned at the shoulder. and copper runes glowed weakly along one cuff. He looked older than I remembered. So did I, technically, if we counted both lives. His gray-blue eyes found mine. The knife slipped from my hand and hit the floor. Kai? My throat closed. I had watched kingdoms fall without crying. I had died with less emotion than I felt in that moment. Orin? He stood too fast, stumbled over a flower bed, crossed the room and hit me hard enough in the chest to make the shelves rattle. For 1 second, I thought he was attacking me. Then his arms locked around my shoulders. You absolute bastard, he said into my shirt. I laughed once, and the sound broke in the middle. You took your time. I thought you were dead. I was. He pulled back and stared at my face. I agree. It was very inconvenient. His eyes were wet. Mine probably were too. Neither of us mentioned it. Then Orin smelled the oven. His whole expression changed. He turned his head. What is that? I followed his eyes. A tray of dragon-tail croissants was almost done. Breakfast. He walked toward the oven. Slowly. He looked through the glass. Then he looked at me. What is in those? Red dragon-tail. His face emptied. You are eating dragon-tail for breakfast? Not only me. He became very still. Kai. What? Who else? I pointed through the front wall toward the street. Customers. Orin stared at me. You feed civilians adult dragon meat? Small amounts. How small? Half a gram now. Now? The first one was 3. Orin grabbed both sides of his head. 3 grams? 3 grams could keep a wounded knight warm through a snow march. That explains the heat resistance. Orin lowered his hands. What happened? Scales, smoke, one sneeze with fire. He closed his eyes. You watched a civilian grow dragon scales, and your conclusion was to keep selling the pastry? I reduced the portion. His eyes opened. There was a long silence. Then he started laughing, not a polite laugh. He bent forward with one hand on the counter and laughed until flour fell from his hair. I waited. When he finally stood straight again, he wiped his eyes. I missed you. That hit harder than I expected. I missed you too. The oven beeped. Orin jumped. He spun toward it and raised one glowing hand. I stared at him. He stared at the oven. What creature is that? I looked at the commercial oven. That is an oven. It announces completion? Yes. Without a heat sprite? Yes. He walked toward it with the careful respect he used to give cursed tomb doors. That was when I knew Earth was in trouble. By 6 in the morning, Orin had inspected the oven, refrigerator, induction plate, stand mixer, dishwasher, coffee grinder, freezer, microwave, thermostat, electric lights, and automatic hand dryer in the bathroom. He trusted none of them. He respected all of them. The coffee machine changed him. I made him 1 espresso. He smelled it first. Then took a sip. His eyes widened. What is this? Coffee. He finished it. Another. You should slow down. Another. I made a second. He drank it faster. This potion is legal? Yes. Without a healer? Yes. Without a license from an alchemist? Yes. Orin stared into the tiny cup. Your world is reckless. Another? Obviously. He pointed at the machine. It can make more. I know. Then your refusal is irrational. 20 minutes later, one of the strongest mages I had ever known was sitting on a flower bucket with both knees bouncing. He looked at me with absolute wonder. Perhaps this world is not primitive. The front door opened. Maya walked in. She stopped when she saw the flower room. Then she saw Orin. Then she saw the copper light still crawling over his sleeve. Orin saw her uniform. His hand went toward a rune tool. I stepped between them. Maya, this is Orin, old friend, mage. Maya looked at me. Of course he is. Orin frowned. That'll heal her. Without magic, I said. His eyebrows rose. Maya pointed at him. Why is he vibrating? He discovered espresso. Orin lifted the tiny cup. Your civilization has made several excellent choices. Maya looked around at the destroyed flower room. Did coffee do that? No, Orin said. That was dimensional travel. She stared at him, then at me. I smiled. She pointed one finger at my face. Do not look happy. I was extremely happy. Orin's arrival answered one question and created a worse one. My old world still existed somewhere. He had not found a stable gate. He had found a weak spot between worlds, and felt something familiar pulling through it. My ring had left a trace. When the ring returned to me on Earth, that trace grew stronger. Then, he did what Orin always did when a spell was dangerous and only partly understood. He cast it anyway. I calculated a 60% chance of survival, he told me. Maya stared. That is not good. It is for portal work. No, it is not good anywhere. Orin looked at me. I like her. I do too. Maya's eyes snapped toward me. I became very interested in the bread rack. Oren noticed. His smile grew slowly. I pointed at him. Do not. I said nothing. Keep doing that. The first useful thing Oren taught me was why my food was breaking people. Earth was almost empty of mana. Not completely. Living things still carried a little. Old trees had more than concrete. Human bodies had a tiny spark. But compared with our first world, Earth was dry. That meant old world ingredients were concentrated beyond reason here. In our world, Oren said, holding half a dragon croissant like evidence in a murder case, your body grows around mana. Here, their bodies have never needed to, so half a gram feels like much more. Much more. How much? He looked at the croissant, then at me. I would not use your customers to find out. Maya nodded once. Finally, a sentence I like. That changed how I cooked. I stopped thinking in old world portions. I started thinking in crumbs. A shaving of dragon meat could warm someone for an hour. 3 drops of thunder goat milk made harmless sparks crawl across the skin. 1 crushed sirenberry seed changed a voice without turning an ordinary accountant into a walking concert disaster. The effects stayed ridiculous. The line outside doubled. The second useful thing Oren did was ruin my oven. He called it an improvement. The problem was simple. We could not bake fast enough. People were waiting 40 minutes for food. The stand mixer was crying for death. I was waking at 3 every morning. Oren stood in front of the commercial oven with a copper tool in one hand. I can improve the heat flow. How much? Perhaps 30%. That would help. Maya, who had come in for coffee before a shift, looked up from the counter. Is this one of those moments where I should leave? No, I said. Yes, Oren said at the same time. I turned to him. Why yes? No reason. That was the wrong answer. He carved 3 tiny runes along the outer metal frame. Then, he placed a grain of powdered fire crystal in the center mark. The runes flashed. The oven hummed. Every light in the bakery dimmed for half a second. Maya put down her coffee. No. It is stable, Oren said. The oven temperature jumped. A tray of test baguettes began rising so fast, I could see the dough move through the glass. 11 seconds later, the oven beeped. Oren smiled. I opened the door. The first baguette shot past my face. It crossed the kitchen and buried itself halfway into the drywall. Silence. Maya looked at the bread sticking out of the wall. Then at Oren. Stable? Oren frowned. The heat is stable. The bread attacked him. That is a separate issue. I pulled the baguette out of the wall. The crust was perfect. Steam rolled out. I tasted a piece. Oren watched me. Maya watched me. I chewed. Excellent. Maya stared. That is your conclusion? We need a weaker launch. Oren nodded. Agreed. Maya made a sound that might have been a prayer. We lowered the runes. The next loaf stayed in the oven. After that came the self-kneading dough. That was my fault. I asked if Oren could make dough fold itself. He could. He should not have. The first batch kneaded beautifully for 9 minutes. Then it developed a sense of direction. I came back from the cold room and found 70 pounds of dough crawling across the floor toward the rear exit. Oren was holding one end. The dough was winning. Help, he said. I grabbed the other side. The dough folded around my forearm. It is stronger than expected. Why does everyone keep saying that, in this building? Maya asked from the doorway. I looked up. She had arrived at exactly the wrong time. Or the right one, depending on how much she enjoyed watching 2 grown men fight bread. Oren planted both boots. It has interpreted kneading as self-preservation. You gave dough self-preservation? Maya asked. Not intentionally. The dough surged. I pulled harder. It stretched 6 feet and slapped Oren across the face. Maya covered her mouth. Her shoulders shook. Are you laughing? I asked. No, you are. No. The dough slapped Oren again. Maya lost the fight. She leaned against the doorframe laughing, while Oren shouted something offensive in an old language, and I dragged the dough toward the mixer. The dough reached for the back door. No, I told it. I hated that this was apparently my life now. We eventually ate it. That felt important. The runaway dough became bread bowls. They sold out. I did not tell customers they had once tried to escape. Some stories added value. Others raised questions. By the end of the first week with Oren, the Hungry Wyvern had become the busiest bakery in the district. That was when Marcus Bell walked in. He arrived at 10 in the morning, wearing a navy suit that probably cost more than my first oven. He did not wait in line. That was his first mistake. The customers made him wait anyway. I watched him stand between a college student with fade silver hair from Frostmint and an elderly woman whose fingertips glowed warm orange from a dragon bun. Marcus looked deeply unhappy about both. When he reached the counter, he did not order. Kai Arden? That depends. On what? Whether you are buying food. His smile became thinner. I'm Marcus Bell. I knew the name. Bell Hearth owned 12 bakeries across the city and more in the next 2 regions. He looked around my tiny shop. I'd like 10 minutes. The line would like croissants. I can make those 10 minutes worth a great deal of money. That got my attention. I pointed toward the corner table. Maya was there on their day off, wearing dark jeans and a loose gray sweater instead of her uniform. Her hair was down. That should not have changed anything. It changed several things. Mostly my ability to look at Marcus while she tucked one side of her hair behind her ear. Then, he smiled in a way I disliked. I immediately became very focused on him again. He opened a leather folder. I want to buy the Hungry Wyvern. No, he paused. You have not seen the offer. I heard the important part. He named a number. It was large enough that the old me would have checked for a curse. I still said no. Marcus named a larger number. No, his smile disappeared. You have been open less than a month. Yes, you have one location. Yes, you have no national distribution. A larger company can copy the concept. I leaned back. That was the funniest thing he had said so far. Then copy it. I'm offering you a clean exit. I just got here. Then I pointed through the window at the Bell Hearth Bakery, 2 doors down. Your company. Marcus laughed once. I did not. The laugh died. For the first time, he looked at me without seeing a young baker who had gotten lucky online. Be serious. I am. That is not possible. Then stop asking my price. He closed the folder. Maya had gone very still at the corner table. Marcus stood. You have a gimmick. I smiled. He glanced at the woman near the window, whose coffee was warming itself between her hands. Then at a teenager, with pale blue frost on his breath. Then back at me. A gimmick, he repeated. Good luck reproducing it. He left. Maya waited until the door shut. Then she walked over. You told the owner of 12 bakeries that you want his company. Yes. Do you? I looked through the window at the Bell Hearth sign. I did not before he annoyed me. She stared at me, then smiled slowly. That is a terrible reason to expand a business. I have had worse reasons. You opened this place because you had monster meat in a ring. Exactly. She nodded. I walked into that one. Marcus did not come back. His people did. 3 nights later, I woke at 2:13 a.m. because the alarm on my phone started screaming. I lived in the apartment above the bakery. 1 second I was asleep. The next I was moving. I didn't bother with shoes. By the time I reached the back stairs, I could hear metal scraping below. Someone was forcing the loading door. I opened the dimensional ring as I descended. My old hunting knife slid into my hand. The blade was plain, dark, and ugly. I had killed more monsters with it than I could remember. I had not held it since my first life. It felt right. The loading door opened just as I reached the kitchen. 2 men came in wearing dark jackets and gloves. One carried a pry bar. The other had a backpack and a small flashlight. Neither expected me to be standing 10 feet away, in bare feet and sleep pants, holding a knife from another world. We stared at each other. The man with the pry bar recovered first. Back up. No, we're not here for you. That is worse. The second man moved toward the cold room. I stepped in front of him. He froze. I had moved faster than he could follow. That pleased me more than it should have. The pry bar came up. Move. I looked at the metal bar. Then at him. You do not want to swing that. He swung it. People often helped answer their own questions. I caught the bar with my left hand. The impact hit my palm hard enough to sting. The old me would barely have noticed it. The new me should have broken fingers. Instead, the metal stopped. The thief's eyes widened. I squeezed. The pry bar bent. Not a little. It folded around my hand in a slow metal curve. All 3 of us looked at it. Oh, I said. The man let go. His friend ran for the cold room. I almost warned him. Then I remembered what was in the refrigerator. He yanked open the silver refrigerator I used for ingredients I planned to work with soon. Inside sat a sealed stone tray. On the tray was a cockatrice head. The thief shined his flashlight at it. The cockatrice opened one eye. The thief screamed. I moved before the eye could focus. I crossed the room, slammed the refrigerator shut, and drove my shoulder into the door. Something hit the other side. The whole refrigerator jumped backward 2 inches. The thief stumbled away. What the hell was that? Cockatrice. What? Do not open that again. The refrigerator shook. The first thief raised both hands. We're leaving. Yes, we didn't take anything. You broke my door. He looked at the bent pry bar on the floor, then at the refrigerator, then at me. I'll pay for the door. The second thief was already halfway outside. I caught the back of his jacket and pulled him into the kitchen. He hit the floor with a grunt. A phone slipped from his pocket. The screen lit up.
Get sample. Any product. Bonus if raw.
Below that was a payment receipt from a local consulting company I recognized from Marcus's folder. Nothing complicated. Nothing I needed a detective to explain. Marcus had tried to buy my secret. I said no, so someone paid these two to steal it. The man on the floor looked at the phone, then at me. That's not mine. It fell out of your pocket. I found it. You found it unlocked? Yes. With your face as the wallpaper? He glanced at the screen. His own smiling face looked back at him. He sighed. Okay. A movement near the rear door made me turn. Oren stood there in his long mage coat, hair loose, holding a coffee mug in one hand and a glowing rune tool in the other. He looked at the two thieves. Then at me. Did I miss the fight? There was not much fight. The first thief looked at Oren's glowing hand. His face went gray. We're definitely leaving. Oren sipped his coffee. For once, he said, everyone understands the situation. I called the police. That part was very modern and much slower than stabbing them. I managed. Maya arrived 40 minutes later. Not because I had called her, but because Oren had. I found that betrayal touching. She walked into the kitchen in loose black pants, a jacket over a sleep shirt, and her hair tied badly behind her head. Her eyes went straight to the blood on my left palm. You're hurt. It is a scratch. She caught my wrist before I could hide it. Her fingers were warm. Mine were warmer. Then, at the bent metal bar on the floor. Kai, yes? What happened to that? I caught it. With what? I looked at the hand she was holding. Maya followed my eyes. No. Yes. She pressed 2 fingers to my wrist. My pulse was calm. Her thumb rested against the inside of my hand while she cleaned the cut. The sharp smell of antiseptic mixed with flour and coffee. I watched her face. She was tired, angry, worried, also very close. My attention became divided in a way that would have gotten me killed in my first life. Maya glanced up. What? Nothing. You are staring. I am watching medical work. Then watch the bandage. I looked down. The cut was already closing at the edges. Maya stopped moving. We both saw it. Yes. It has been 4 minutes. Yes. Her fingers tightened slightly around my wrist. Is this the food? I think so. You think so? My old body healed faster. Not this fast, but faster than normal. She looked at me for a long moment. What else is coming back? Strength, speed, heat tolerance, a little mana. You said that word like I should know it. Magic. Then say magic. Good. Oren leaned against the counter behind her. He was stronger than this before. Maya looked over her shoulder. How much stronger? Oren thought. Kai once held a cave troll's jaw open while I climbed out. Maya looked back at me. It was a small troll. It weighed nearly a ton, Oren said. I frowned at him. He drank his coffee. Her fingertips dragged across my palm for half a second. Do not test that on people. I know. I mean it. So do I. She studied my face, then nodded. The thieves were gone by sunrise. The broken loading door was still there. So was Marcus's problem. I could have gone after him directly. I did not need to. Marcus solved himself. 2 days later, Belle Hearth announced its new fantasy pastry line. The marketing photos were beautiful. Gold icing, black plates, fake dragon names, smoke around the edges. I almost respected it. Then, I saw the purple filling in one promotional tart. I stopped chewing my breakfast. Oren looked over my shoulder at the phone. His face changed. Is that Scream Root? Yes. Maya, sitting at the end of the counter, looked between us. I put my food down. A plant. She waited. It screams. Her eyes narrowed. When? When injured? What counts as injured? I looked at the picture of the pastry. Biting it. Belle Hearth was launching the line live at noon. Marcus had chosen his largest local store for the event. There were cameras, influencers, free samples, a long table covered with purple pastries. I knew exactly where the Scream Root had come from. One of the thieves must have cut a piece before opening the refrigerator. Raw Scream Root was not deadly in tiny amounts, but you had to boil it 3 times. If you did not, the plant still reacted when something bit it. At 12:15, the first customer bit into a Belle Hearth Enchanted Forest tart. The pastry screamed. Not a squeak, not a whistle. The customer screamed too. Then the woman beside him bit hers. That pastry screamed. Then someone at the other end of the table took a bite. Another scream. Within 10 seconds, the live stream sounded like a haunted bakery had been kicked down a staircase. People dropped pastries. The pastries screamed when they hit the floor. One rolled under a chair and continued screaming from below it. Marcus stood in front of the cameras with the face of a man watching his brand leave his body. Oren was beside me, watching the stream on my phone. He whispered, "This is magnificent." Maya covered her mouth. I could see her trying not to laugh. Then one customer clutched his ears and fell against a table. The humor ended for me. Too much, I said. Maya was already standing. What do we do? Boil water, crush this, strong. Oren put down his coffee. I can silence the root for a few minutes. Do it when we get there. Bell Hearth was 2 doors down. We ran. People packed the front entrance as they tried to get out. I used the side kitchen door instead. Marcus saw me, his face twisted. You. Later. I pushed past him. Oren drew 1 copper sign in the air. The screaming dropped to a low groan. Every head in the room turned. I crushed frost mint into a large bowl, poured boiling water over it, and told the staff to dip every remaining pastry. The purple filling turned gray. The screaming stopped. Silence hit the room. Real silence. Marcus stared at the bowl, then at me. What did you do? Prepared your ingredient. His mouth tightened. You sabotaged this. No. I pointed at the gray root filling. You stole something you did not understand and fed it to people. A camera was still running. Marcus noticed too late. His face went white. I did not need a threat. I did not need a speech. He had stolen a magical plant, fed it to a room full of people, and filmed the proof himself. Bellhearth pulled the product within an hour. The local store closed for renovation the next week. 2 weeks after Marcus offered to buy my bakery, his company gave up the lease on the unit 2 doors down. I signed it 3 days later. Maya stood in the empty space with me, while I held the keys. Took part of his company. It is 1 store. You asked for the whole company. I am patient. She laughed. I looked around the empty room. More ovens, more seating, a larger prep kitchen, enough space to keep the magical ingredients away from normal flour. For the first time, the Hungry Wyvern felt less like a strange little experiment and more like something that could become huge. Oren walked in carrying a microwave. Maya's smile vanished. No. He stopped. I have not done anything. You are carrying it like a criminal carries evidence. It was on sale. No runes. Oren looked offended. I was only considering, no. He looked at me, I looked at the microwave, then at Maya. No runes, I said. Oren sighed. I thought the problem was solved. But that was a problem for another day. The day's problem arrived from the sky. It happened on Saturday afternoon. The new unit was still empty. The original bakery was packed. People stood outside with dragon croissants, frost mint macarons, and cups of normal coffee, because Maya had insisted we sell at least one thing that did not threaten the laws of nature. I was carrying a tray to the front when every bird on the street took off at once. The sound hit first, a deep leathery beat above the buildings. Once, twice, then a shadow crossed the windows. Oren dropped his espresso. The cup shattered. That scared me more than the shadow. He never dropped coffee. We both looked up. A roar shook the glass. People outside cheered. I closed my eyes for half a second. Of course, they cheered. They thought it was marketing. A huge green-black shape passed between the buildings. Its wings clipped an advertising banner and tore the metal frame off the wall. The frame crashed onto a parked car. The cheering stopped. The wyvern turned in the air. It was young, maybe 20 feet from nose to tail, with 2 rear legs, broad wings, a hooked jaw, and old scars along its belly. Not a dragon. A wyvern, still more than enough to kill everyone on the street. It opened its mouth. I knew that posture. Inside, I shouted. The first blast was not fire. It spat a stream of green acid across the street. The acid hit the pavement where the crowd had been standing. Stone hissed. People screamed. Now they ran. Inside the buildings, she shouted. Move away from the windows. Oren stepped beside me. His face had lost every trace of humor. That followed me. Maybe. Kai, we can discuss blame after we kill it. The wyvern banked above the intersection, its eyes fixed on the bakery. Not the people, the bakery. My ring felt suddenly hot against my finger. The creature smelled old-world manna. It wanted my pantry. I had died once protecting less valuable things. This time, I was also annoyed. I shoved the tray at Oren. Hold this. He looked at the croissants in his hands. Kai. I opened the ring. Cold black space spread across my palm. My fingers closed around a crystal jar. Inside was a dark red piece of meat, wrapped in silver leaf. I had saved it for a bad day in my first life. Death had arrived before I could use it. Today qualified. Oren saw the jar. No. Yes. You have not eaten Stormrock Hard in this body. I have not fought a wyvern in this body either. That is not an argument. It is the situation. I bit into the heart. It tasted like iron, smoke, and lightning. Pain hit my jaw first, then my throat, then my chest. My heart slammed once, twice. On the third beat, the world changed. Every sound separated. People running, glass falling, Maya shouting near the doorway. The wyvern's wings beating above us. I felt the air move against my skin. Heat and electricity poured through my arms. For the first time since I died, mana did not feel like a spark. It felt like blood. The wyvern turned for another pass. I smiled. Orin looked at me. Then he looked at the wyvern. Oh, he said softly. He remembered that smile. So did I. The wyvern dove. Main Street was about 60 feet wide from building to building. The bakery sat on the north side. A delivery truck had stopped in the right lane. A streetlight stood near the crossing. Most people were moving inside now, but a father had frozen beside the truck, with a little girl in his arms. The wyvern was coming straight at them. I moved. 1 second I was at the bakery door. The next I was across the sidewalk. The storm rock heart made every second feel longer. I saw the father turn. I saw the girl's red shoe fall from her foot. I saw a drop of acid hanging from the wyvern's lower jaw. I hit the father with my shoulder hard enough to send all three of us behind the delivery truck. The wyvern passed over us. Its wings struck the truck roof. Metal folded with a scream. The air pressure knocked the father onto his back. The little girl cried. I pushed myself up. Get inside. The father stared at me. Now. That reached him. He ran. The wyvern climbed again. I looked toward the bakery. Maya stood just inside the doorway, dragging an injured man away from the glass with another customer. Our eyes met. She saw the blood running from my nose. I felt it then. Storm Rock Heart was too strong for this body. Good. That meant it was working. Oren stepped into the street. Copper light formed around both hands. You have perhaps 3 minutes before that dose starts tearing muscle. I watched the wyvern turn above the intersection. Then I only need 2. Kai. Keep it away from the crowd. He knew what I meant. Oren could not use the huge spells he once had. Earth did not have enough free mana. But my ingredients gave him some power. And a wyvern flying between buildings did not need a huge spell to ruin its turn. He drew a copper line across the air. The line became a bright wall above the bakery entrance. The wyvern saw it and twisted away. Not because the wall could stop it. Because wyverns hated bright runes near the eyes. I knew that. Oren knew that. The wyvern did not know we knew that. It banked left, exactly where I wanted it. I ran toward the delivery truck. My feet hit the hood. The metal dented under me. I pushed off. I landed on the roof. The truck rocked. Someone behind a window screamed my name. The wyvern came around again, too high. I needed another 10 feet. The street light was ahead of me. I jumped. My fingers closed around the curved metal arm near the lamp. For one awful second, the pole bent under my weight. Then I swung. The wyvern passed below. I let go. The world dropped away. I landed between its shoulders. Its scales were hot and slick under my hands. The smell hit next. Old leather, blood, acid, that sharp animal stink I had not smelled in 25 years. Home, in the worst possible way. The wyvern screamed. Its entire body rolled. I locked my legs under one wing joint and flattened myself against its neck. The street spun below us. A window flashed past, then sky, then asphalt. The wyvern tried to scrape me against a building. I knew that move too. I shifted to the other side as its shoulder slammed into brick. Chunks of wall exploded outward. One hit my back. Pain burst across my ribs. I almost lost my grip. The wyvern snapped its neck around. Its jaw opened beside my head. Rows of hooked teeth filled my vision. I jammed my forearm under the lower jaw and shoved. The teeth closed 3 inches from my face. My arm shook. The wyvern pushed harder. For 1 second, I was back in my old world, with a troll's jaw between my hands and Oren shouting behind me. Then I realized something wonderful. This wyvern was weaker than the things I used to hunt. My body was not fully back, but my experience was. The wyvern had never fought me before. I had killed 6 of its kind. The wyvern had picked the wrong bakery. I slammed my knife upward, through the soft skin under its jaw. Hot black-red blood poured over my hand. The wyvern shrieked. Its head snapped away. I pulled the blade free and crawled toward the base of the left wing. Every wyvern had the same problem. Even armored monsters needed soft skin where their joints moved. At the wing root, 3 rows of scales overlapped above one thin seam. I drove my fingers under the first scale. The Stormrock power surged through my arm. I ripped. The scale came free, with meat attached. Blood sprayed across my face. The wyvern bucked so hard my teeth clicked together. Below, Oren shouted something. I could not hear the words over the roar. I saw the next part instead. The street ended ahead at the intersection. The wyvern was losing height. If it crashed straight, it would hit the crowd sheltering inside the corner cafe. I needed to turn it. I shoved my knife into the open wing seam and cut deep. The left wing failed. The wyvern dropped sideways. Good direction, bad speed. We hit the top of a billboard. The metal frame exploded. My shoulder struck steel. Something in my side tore. Then the wyvern and I fell through a cloud of paper, sparks, and broken lights. We crashed onto the roof of the delivery truck. The roof collapsed. My vision went white. For a moment I could not breathe. Then the wyvern moved under me. Still alive. Of course. They were annoying like that. Its right wing beat against the street, smashing a parking sign flat. One rear claw scraped over the truck roof and caught my side. 4 hot lines opened below my ribs. I felt blood run under my shirt. The Stormrock heart answered with another violent pulse. I pushed myself up. The wyvern's head rose 10 feet away. One yellow eye found me. Green fluid gathered behind its teeth. I had no time to dodge. A copper rune flashed across its face. Oren's spell hit the eye like a camera flash from hell. The wyvern jerked its head sideways. The acid stream missed me by inches and cut through the truck door instead. Metal hissed and sagged. Oren stood in the street with blood running from one nostril. Blood ran from Oren's nose. He had bought me one opening. I used it. I jumped from the crushed roof. The wyvern saw me too late. I landed on its skull. My knees nearly buckled. I drove the knife down behind its left eye. The blade hit bone. I twisted, changed the angle, and drove again. This time it went through. The wyvern convulsed. I held the handle with both hands and pushed until the guard touched scale. The body went still. The street became quiet in pieces. First the roar stopped, then the wings, then the metal scraping under its claws. All I could hear was my own breathing and the hiss of acid eating the road. I stood slowly on the wyvern's head. My legs shook. Blood ran from my nose, my side, and somewhere near my shoulder. Hundreds of people were staring through windows, doors, and raised phones. Nobody cheered. Not yet. They had just watched a bakery owner jump onto a monster and drive a knife through its brain. Nobody knew whether to cheer or call somebody. Then Maya started running toward me. Maya did not. She came running across the street. I smiled at her. That was a mistake. She pointed at me. Do not move. I was not planning to. You are standing on its head. It is the flattest part. Kai. I climbed down. Halfway my left leg stopped cooperating. Maya caught me around the waist before I hit the ground. Pain shot through my ribs. I hissed. Her arm tightened around me. You're bleeding. Yes, a lot. Moderately. She looked at the 4 claw cuts in my side. Kai, fine, a lot. Oren walked over more slowly. He looked terrible and delighted. You are still insane. You opened a portal with a 60% survival chance. That was research. That was gambling with math. Maya turned on both of us. Stop talking. She got me inside the bakery and onto one of the recovery chairs I had built for customers. I found that insulting. I did not say so. She cut my shirt away from the wound. The claw marks were ugly, but not deep enough to reach my organs. My ribs hurt like hell. My shoulder had swollen where the billboard frame hit me. Maya cleaned the cuts, while Oren sat on the floor nearby, with a towel under his nose. Outside, sirens filled the street. People were finally cheering. I closed my eyes. The Stormrock effect was fading. Every muscle in my body began to ache at once. Maya pressed gauze against my side. I opened my eyes again. Her face was close. Too close for my concentration. She had blood on one sleeve. A strand of hair had come loose beside her cheek. Her hands were steady. Her jaw was not. She was scared. That quieted every joke in my head. I'm okay, I said. I know. Her voice was tight. But you could have died. I looked toward the broken front window. The wyvern's wing filled half the street outside. I could have. Maya's eyes met mine. For a moment, the bakery noise disappeared. I wanted to tell her I had already died once. I wanted to tell her that made danger easier, not harder. But looking at her, I understood that was not true anymore. Dying had been easy when I had nothing in this world to lose. That situation was changing. I covered her wrist with my hand. I'm okay, I said again. This time I meant something different. Maya nodded once. She did not move her hand away, neither did I. Then Oren spoke from the floor. Once the touching is complete, I would like to discuss the corpse. Maya closed her eyes. I looked at him. He lifted both hands. You said serious injuries first. You have stopped bleeding. Maya pointed at the door. Outside. Oren stood. He took one step, then turned back toward me. The liver is mine. Absolutely not. Maya made a sound through her teeth. Oren left. I smiled despite the pain. If you two start arguing over organs while I am treating you, I will sedate both of you. Can you? I will find a dose. That threat felt real. Police blocked the street. Fire crews dealt with acid damage. Videos spread faster than anyone could control. News stations arrived. Half the city wanted to know where the monster came from. I had no answer I wanted to give them. The wyvern was dead. Nobody in the crowd had died. 3 people had minor injuries from falling debris. Maya helped treat them. Oren stayed inside because a man in a burned mage coat drawing glowing runes would have made the interviews harder. I stayed in the bakery with bandages around my ribs and watched people take pictures through the glass. At sunset, the police finally allowed the carcass to be moved. That created another problem. No, I told the officer. He stared at me. No? You cannot take the whole thing. It is evidence. The officer looked toward the dead wyvern, then back at me. You want to keep it? Yes. How much? I looked at the body. The tail, both thighs, liver, heart, neck, wing meat, fat around the chest, and the tongue. He stared. I considered the list. And one cheek. Why one cheek? I want to compare texture before taking both. The officer walked away without answering. I took that as progress. The city had a bigger carcass problem than I did. After officials took the samples they needed, they let me keep part of the wyvern. Controlled amount was still hundreds of pounds. For the first time since my ring returned, I added fresh monster meat, instead of removing old stock. That changed something inside me. Every dragon shaving I used was one less piece from a world I thought I had lost forever. Now a wyvern had crossed to Earth. That was dangerous. It also meant the supply might not be finite anymore. I did not tell Maya that second thought immediately. I liked living. 3 days later, the Hungry Wyvern reopened. The front window had been replaced. The burn mark on the old menu board remained because customers kept taking pictures of it. The new unit 2 doors down was under construction, and on a black sign beside the register, I wrote,
Fresh wyvern steak pie, limited batch, 1 per customer. Please report unusual claw growth.
Maya read the sign. No. I looked at her. We tested it. On who? Me, you are not a normal human anymore. Oren had some. He is a mage. We gave a tiny bite to the delivery driver. Maya stared. He volunteered. What happened? His eyesight improved for 20 minutes. That is all? He also said blue tasted louder. Maya rubbed both temples. I do not know what that means. Neither did he. She looked at the line outside. It stretched past 6 storefronts. Some people wore homemade dragon hats. Someone had printed a shirt with my face under the words, "Let him cook the monster." I bought one later. This city learned nothing. They learned wyvern tastes good. You have not sold one yet. Rich meat, butter, pepper, a little frost mint, crisp pastry. Maya's stomach made a small sound. I looked at her. She pointed at me. Do not. I said nothing. That was harder than fighting the wyvern. Oren came out from the back, carrying 3 coffees. He handed one to Maya, then one to me, then raised his own. To Earth, he said. I looked at the packed bakery, at the new unit through the side wall we were preparing to open, at Maya beside me, at the ring on my hand. To profit, I said. Maya sighed. The front door opened. The first customer ordered 2 pies. 1 per customer, I said. My wife is outside. Where? He pointed through the window. A woman waved. Acceptable. I handed him 2. For the next 2 hours, nothing exploded. Nobody grew scales. One man claimed he could see in the dark, but it was noon, so I told him to come back later. A teenager said her nails had become hard enough to scratch glass. Maya wrote it down. Controlled ridiculous. That, I could work with. Near closing, I stepped outside with a tray of crumbs for the trash. A pigeon landed on the railing beside me. Blue-gray feathers, orange eyes, normal city bird. It looked at the tray. No. The pigeon looked at me. I looked at the pigeon. No. It waited. I turned to open the bin. The pigeon moved like a professional thief. It dove, grabbed a piece of wyvern crust, and launched into the air before I could catch it. Hey. The pigeon swallowed the crumb. For 1 second, nothing happened. Then its eyes glowed faint orange. One tiny feather at the front of its head turned ember red. Oren stepped outside behind me. He looked up. The pigeon looked down. Oren narrowed his eyes. I dislike that bird. You met it 3 seconds ago. I trust my instincts. The pigeon dropped something. It landed in Oren's coffee. We both looked into the cup. Oren's face became very calm. The pigeon flew away. I was correct, he said. He poured out the coffee. Then he looked up at the sky like Gregory had started a blood feud. I laughed until my ribs hurt. Later that night, after the doors were locked, Maya helped me change the bandage on my side. The cuts were already closing faster than they should. We stood alone in the new empty unit. Construction dust covered the floor. The walls were bare. Through the open doorway, warm light from the old bakery spilled across the concrete. Maya taped the clean bandage down. You heal like an idiot now. I looked at her. That sounded medical. It is a new diagnosis. She rested her palm against my side for 1 second, checking the edge. Her hand stayed there, neither of us moved. She looked up at me. I could smell her shampoo under the flour and antiseptic. The room felt much smaller than it was. I thought you were dead when you fell with that thing, she said. The words were quiet. No joke fit there. I know. Do not make me get used to that. I studied her face. I wanted to touch her cheek. I did not. Not yet. I'll try. That is not a promise. No. She nodded. It was enough for now. Then my ring knocked. Once. I froze. Maya's hand left my side. What was that? I looked down. The silver ring was warm. Knock. A second impact came from inside it. That was impossible. Time did not move inside the ring. It was the entire reason meat from 25 years and another life was still fresh. Oren appeared in the doorway. His expression told me he had felt it too. Kai. I know. The ring knocked a third time. Harder. The silver band vibrated against my finger. Maya looked between us. What exactly is in there? I thought about the final months of my first life. The expeditions. The habit of putting things into storage, and promising myself I would label them later. Several unlabeled crates. 2 sealed stone boxes. 1 very large object wrapped in black cloth that I suddenly remembered stealing from somewhere important. My stomach tightened. Oren knew my face too well. No, I did not say anything. You remembered something. Maybe. What? I looked at the ring. The thing inside hit the storage boundary again. Knock. I smiled. Oren pointed at me. That expression has killed people. Mostly monsters. Kai. I opened my hand over the ring. Whatever was inside had survived my death, 25 years, and a storage space where time was supposed to stop. That made it dangerous. It also made me very curious. And after a lifetime of hunting monsters, one thought arrived before all the sensible ones. I looked at Oren. He saw the thought on my face and immediately said, no. Too late. I was already wondering what it tasted like.